Radha Madhava Kundabiyari Gopi Janabhalava Girivardhari Girivardhari Gopi Janabhalava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kundabiyani Jaya Radha Madhava Kundabiyani Gopi Janabhalava Girivardhari Gopi Janabhalava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jayam Vishnupad Parnamahamsa Parivirajikacharya Astu Dharasadashi Shriman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Vaishnava Sangha Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi All glories to the Sum Devotees All glories to the Sum Devotees All glories to the Sum Devotees All glories Shri Shri Guru Garanga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Perfect. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2. Maharaj Nimi meets the 9 Yogendras. And we're starting with text 23. There's no purport all the way till we get to text 26. Yeah, 26 is here? Okay. We turn off the fans because it's a little hard to hear with the wedding, and so We'll keep them off, see if there's enough oxygen, we'll do that. Okay? So, text 23. So I'll just chant it, you can listen when we read, okay? Avyadhateshtu kundeya surasita sadya Gandhava yaksha narakinnara nagalokan Muktascharanti municharana bhutanata Vijaharadvijagavam bhuvananikamam. So translation to this verse. The 9 Yogendras are liberated souls who travel freely to the planets of the demigods, the perfected mystics, the Sajjas, the heavenly musicians, the Yakshas, the human beings, and the minor demigods such as the Kinnaras and the serpents. No mundane force can check their free movement, and exactly as they wish, they can travel as well to the worlds of the sages, the angels, the ghostly followers of Lord Shiva, the Vidyaharas, the Brahmanas, and the cows. Text 24. Te ekadani me satram upajagmur yadrichaya Vitayamanam Rishibir Ajanabhe Mahatmanaha. Once in Ajanabha, the former name of the earth, they came upon the sacrificial performance of the great soul Maharaj Nimi, which was being carried out under the direction of elevated sages. 25. Tandristva Surya Sankashan Mahabhagavatan Ripa Yogyan Manognane Vipra Sarva Evo Patishtire. My dear king, seeing those pure devotees of the Lord who rival the sun in brilliance, everyone present, the performer of the sacrifice, the brahmanas, and even the sacrificial fires, stood in respect. Text 26. So this one we do together, okay? So I'll read one line, you read one line, okay? Ready? Okay. Videhastan abhipreja Narayana Parayana Prita Sampijayam Chakre Asanastanyatarhata Videhastan abhipreja Narayana Parayana Prita Sampujayam Chakre Asanam Stanyatarhataha Videhastan Abhipretya Narayana Parayana Prita Sampujayam Chakre Asanam Stam Yatarhataha. told her she didn't know. Word meanings. Videha Maharaj, Nimi Maharaj. Tan, them. Api Pretya, recognizing. Narayana Parayanam, as devotees whose only goal was Narayan. Pritaha, satisfied. Sampujayam Chakre, he who fully worshipped them. Asanastan, who had been seated. Yata artaha, as they deserved. Translation. King Videha Nimi understood that the 9 sages were exalted devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, overjoyed at their auspicious arrival, he offered them suitable sitting places and worshipped them in a proper way, just as one would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. It's a long purport, so we won't read the verse again. The word Yatharhataha is significant here. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti, the word Yatharhata means Yathochitam, or according to proper etiquette. It is clearly mentioned here that the Navayogendras are Narayana Parayanas, exalted devotees of the Supreme Lord Narayan or Krishna. Therefore, the word Yatharhataha indicates that the king worshipped the 9 sages according to the standard Vaishnava etiquette. The etiquette for worshipping exalted Vaishnavas is expressed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur with the words Sakshat Daritvena Samasta Shastraye. An exalted Vaishnava, being totally surrendered to the will of the Supreme Lord, is taken to be a transparent medium for the Lord's will. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that even by a moment's association with the pure devotees of the Lord, one can achieve all perfection in life. Therefore, as indicated by the word Pritaha, King Nimi was overjoyed by the auspicious arrival of the sages, and therefore he worshipped them just as one would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although impersonalist philosophers claim that every living entity is equal to God, they callously step over the heads of their so-called spiritual masters and freely speculate on the nature of the Absolute, giving their own whimsical opinions in defiance of the impersonal whims of their so-called gurus. In other words, although Mayavadi impersonalists claim that everyone is God, they ultimately show an offensive mentality toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and rejecting the reality of His eternal form and pastimes. Thus, they unwittingly belittle the eternal position of all living beings by denying their eternal personality and activities in the kingdom of God. The impersonalists, through their mental concoctions, try to minimize the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities who are part of Him, reducing them theoretically to a formless, nameless light by which their concoction they claim to be the absolute God. The Vaishnavas, however, welcome the Supreme Personality of Godhead and easily understand that the unlimited Supreme Personality has nothing to do with the conditioned, limited, mundane personalities we find in the material world. The impersonalists arrogantly assume that there could not be any transcendental or unlimited personality beyond our present experience. But the Vaishnavas intelligently understand that there are many wonderful things far beyond our limited experience. Therefore, they accept the words of Krishna, who states in Bhagavad Gita 15:19, Yomam mevam masam mudha janati purushottama sa sarva vid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything, and he therefore engages himself in full devotional service, O son of Bharat. In this connection, Srila Prabhupada states, quote, there are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the Supreme Absolute Truth. Now, in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna as the Supreme Person is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth, but the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of the Vedas. End quote. That was all Prabhupada's purport. Now, Prabhupada's disciples continue. Therefore, exalted devotees such as the 9 Yogendras always accept the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as expressed here by the word Narayana Parayana. Okay, one more paragraph. King Nimi was a Vaishnava, and therefore he worshipped the great sages with the same respect with which he would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as shown by the word Yadharthata. Although impersonalists falsely claim that every living entity is equal to God, they cannot properly respect any living being because of their original offense at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality. Though so-called worship even of their own gurus is ultimately self-serving and opportunistic. When an impersonalist imagines that he has become God, he has no further need for his so-called guru. The Vaishnava, however, because he accepts the supremacy of the eternal personality of Godhead, is ready and willing to offer eternal respect to all living beings, especially those most fortunate living beings who have achieved shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. A Vaishnava's worship of the Lord's representative is not self-serving or opportunistic, but it is an expression of eternal love for the Lord and his representatives, as indicated here by the word pritaha. Therefore, it is clear from this verse that not only the 9 exalted sons of Rishabdev, but also King Nimi himself were all great devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in defiance of the artificial and limited concept of impersonalism. Om Gyanatamyandasha Janan Anjana Shalakaya Chakshu Melitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So my name is Anutama Das. I'm based in Washington, D.C. I serve as the GBC representative for Eastern United States and part of the Midwest United States, and a little bit here in India on the Mayapur Executive Board, and then in one sense, my main service is I serve as the Minister of Communications. So that's why I'm traveling, that's why I'm here. I want to thank all of you for being here on Sunday morning. I'm just thinking that those of you that had a very pure upbringing, it may be hard for you to understand my American accent. I'm thinking in one respect, those of you whose families grew up watching American movies, may be an advantage. You can understand what I'll be speaking. So in this way we can dovetail everything in the Lord's service, huh? I spoke once years ago in England at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, and I asked one Italian devotee, I said, "Did you understand me?" He said, "No, it's very difficult." And then I asked a German devotee, both English was a second language. I asked the German devotee, "Did you understand me?" He said, "Perfectly clear." I couldn't understand why. I said, "Why do you understand, the Italians don't?" He said, "Because they watch British movies, we watch American movies." I said, "Oh, okay. Modern culture is very..." So anyway, hopefully you can understand. I'll try to speak a little slowly. So first I want to thank all of you for being here in the Lord's temple this Sunday morning. You could be many other places, but you chose to be here. That's a right choice. Yesterday, Bhanu Swami was talking about making the right choices. So you've all made the right choice coming here. Very pleased to be here. It's a very beautiful temple, especially beautiful deities, very lovely deities, dressed very nicely. And I'll also mention that some of the devotees that are here regularly will be coming back in a few weeks. This temple is hosting something that's been going on in Tirupati for 4 years, and now we're having it here, which is the annual Vaishnava Christian Dialogue. So we're hosting that here. Purpose for that being to try to Jai Shishigonitai. Just like around the world, we know some places there's Muslim majority. Yeah, Middle East, Indonesia. Some places it's a Christian majority. Europe, North America, South America. Some places it's a Buddhist majority. Yeah. Burma, what's it called now? Whatever. Some places a Hindu majority. India, Nepal, parts of India, some states not. So wherever you go in the world, someplace you're a minority, isn't it? And all around the world, the majorities tend, not always, but they tend to exploit the minorities. So wise people think, wait, everywhere we go, somewhere in the world, I'm a minority. So isn't it better we learn to understand and respect each other? As Prabhupada said many times, there's one beautiful quote. Prabhupada said, it's time that the Christians and the Muslims and the Hindus stop fighting with each other. The real problem in the world is atheism, lack of knowledge of God. They should work together cooperatively to promote the supremacy of God. So that's this idea. We bring Christian scholars, Vaishnava scholars. Krishna Sheta Swami is coming here. Radhika Raman Prabhu, who's a professor of religion in America, he's coming. Of course, Bhanu Swami will be here. Many other scholars and devotees are coming. And some other friends that are Sri Vaishnavas participate. So Rao Prabhu is helping facilitate that. And some of the devotees are cooking. I haven't seen them in a few days, but we have some special cooks. Anyway, we're coming back for that. So like this verse, I'll just mention, we'll appreciate the devotees here when we have guests, can go out of their way to make sure they feel comfortable. Okay. So here, the 9 Yogendras, they're meeting King Nimi. He's in the middle of a sacrifice, but when these exalted Vaishnavas come, he kind of stops for a moment and welcomes them and worships them, makes them feel very comfortable. So it's a long purport, very long purport, and they made a lot of points. So I'm just going to highlight some of the points that they made in the purport explaining this verse. So the first thing that struck me, it's not commented in the purport, but in the first verse we read, it describes how the 9 Yogendras travel freely all over the universe. So they go to the planets, they go to with the heavenly musicians, where the demigods are there, where perfected beings are there, all these different places they go. But it's interesting because although they're going to all these different places, they're not distracted. A very important point. They're not distracted. They're not disturbed. Their minds are not attracted by these different places. Sometimes people, they think that one becomes serious in their spiritual practice, or one becomes a religious person because they have nothing else. You know, you didn't do so good in university. You know, America, they have this word loser. Do they have that word here? Loser? Sometimes you win in life, yeah, sometimes you lose, right? So sometimes they have this idea, losers, they take shelter in God. If you're a really successful person, you don't need God. So all of you people, it's very nice you come here, but the successful people, they're out there. You see? Sometimes they think like that, you know. I don't need God. Why do I need God? I'm rich, I'm good looking, very happy, like that. But here we see the 9 Yogendras. They travel all over the universe. They went to the planets, to the demigods. They weren't distracted. They weren't attracted. Because they saw those are lesser things. Whatever opulences they have, those are less important than actually what they're experiencing. Sometimes I remember there was one in Mayapur one year, one leader was giving a description how sometimes, he was saying sometimes devotees, the ladies would go sometimes preaching together, the men would sometimes go preaching together, sometimes they go to people's homes. And sometimes he said the men, they would come to him, they would say, you know, Maharaj, I'm having difficulty. Because I go in these people's homes, sometimes the lady's very attractive lady, my mind's disturbed, you know, I'm trying to be brahmachari and my mind thinks, oh, I could enjoy this, like that. So one who's not so fixed, they're attracted to the material things. It was interesting because then in this class they explained, he said sometimes the ladies come. They say we're also sometimes going to people's homes preaching. My mind becomes disturbed. They have such nice furniture in this house. They have such nice draperies in this house. They have such nice kitchen in this house. None of the men come back and say, I was becoming agitated by the kitchen. Yeah. So the soul in a different body, we're attracted to different things. Like I just through several airports. Now in airports they have toy stores. To me, the toy store is just a total distraction. There's always 2 or 3 people outside with the newest toys, and they all make noise. You know, something flies, something jumps, something like a little train or a bird. All the children, whoa, very nice. You see? But the adults is nonsense, just disturbing my mind, you see? So with these Sankirtan devotees, even though they're Vaishnavas, not so pure, we're not so pure. The men were saying, oh, I get agitated. I see a lady, I get agitated. The ladies were saying, I see a nice kitchen furniture, I get agitated. So whatever body we're put into, a child's body is attracted to certain things. A male body is maybe attracted to different things. Female body may be attracted to different things. Dog, body attracted to different things. So we're attracted to different things. But here the 9 Yogendras, they're proof that when one becomes spiritually advanced, even you go to the planet of the demigods, there's no attraction. We went to the planet of the demigods, maybe we'd be disturbed. I was recently, someone was given a class, and they were saying, sometimes in English, I don't know how they say it here, but they'll say, well, what if you had $1 million? What would, you know, there's an expression, every man has his price. Like sometimes government officials, you know, they're not so honest. You give them money, they'll do something dishonest. So he may tell you, I won't do that for a lakh, but you give me 20 lakhs, okay. So materialistic people, everyone has their price. So recently someone was saying, well, what if he had $1 million? And I was thinking, oh, that'd be very nice. I could do so many things. And then they said, what if you had $1 billion? How many crores is a billion? Anybody know? 100 crores, right? A lot of money. And I was surprised because my mind went, oh, $1 billion. Oh, that's a lot of money. Oh, I could. And then meeting went to some material thing. I was watching my mind thinking, what kind of Vaishnava are you? Someone offers you $1 million, okay, no problem, I'll use it for Krishna. But $1 billion, oh, I could enjoy that. You see? But then the Yogendras are not like that. All the way to the planets of the demigods, they understand this is the Lord's inferior energy. Because they have a connection with Krishna, they're not disturbed. So this is explained in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Kind of famous 2 verses. Just for lack of time, I'll just read the English. A liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So the Yogendras, because they have their connection with Krishna, and because they're wise, they can travel anywhere and not be disturbed. Whereas maybe we have to be a little more careful. You know, we go someplace, it's easy to remember Krishna. Go some other place, maybe it's not so easy. So we have to be very, very careful about that. So that's one point about how the Yogendras completely, because they're fixed in Krishna, not disturbed. The entire universe is there for them, not disturbed. In the purport, the first point made in the purport, they talk about Vaishnava etiquette and how Maharaj Nimi, he worshipped and he welcomed the sages. So just a couple comments on this. We should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Nimi. Anybody in the family of kings here? Anybody descended from a king? Maybe. Okay, maybe Sumitra Krishna, we're not sure. You go back far enough, maybe. In one sense, you could all say yes, because Brahma is the king of the universe, and he's the first father. So we're all connected to him. So some way we're all sons, daughters of kings, okay? So sometimes people think, okay, if you are a higher social status, you don't need to welcome others. They should welcome you, isn't it? Sometimes you see people meet and they're kind of looking to see, is he going to touch my feet or am I going to touch his feet? Is he going to stand up or am I supposed to stand up? You see? This material calculation. Sometimes people think they're measuring, okay, I have this big of a car. How big is his car? Right? I have so much gold chains or gold, how much does he have or does she have? They're measuring like that. They're looking for the status. Maharaj Nimi is the king. Isn't it? He's the king. He's very high. But when the Vaishnavas come, when his guests come, he's welcoming them, he's worshiping them. So this is one lesson for us from this purport, that we should remember we're not, right? Lord Chaitanya said, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Vaishnava, I'm not a Sudra, I'm not a Vaishya, right? I'm Das and a Das and a Dasa. I'm a servant to the servant to the servant to the servant to the Lord. So what does that mean? Okay, it's nice philosophy. Sounds very poetic. Das and a Das and a Das. Oh yeah. Who are you? Prabhu. I am Das and Das and Das. No. I'm Das and a Das and a Das. I'm the servant of everyone. So if we're members of this temple, or if we visit this temple regularly, we should remember who owns this temple. Nimi was the emperor. But still he was thinking, I'm just a servant. And these souls, advanced souls come, let me welcome them properly. So we should also remember this temple, this building, this house is Krishna's house. Anyone who comes here is Krishna's guest. And we are Krishna's servants, isn't it? So we should go out of our way to make sure everyone who comes here feels welcome. It's very important. Sometimes, again, we measure. Is important person or less important person? No one is less. If we think someone is more important, someone is less important, we're on the bodily platform of life. We should see, oh, here's a devotee of Krishna. This devotee of Krishna may be coming in a senior devotee body, junior devotee body, big body, little body, man's body, woman's body, child's body, rich body, poor body. It's just a body. It's just a car. Krishna doesn't see like that. He sees the soul. And if we're Krishna's servants, we also have to, at least intellectually, see the soul and interact with people like that. Sometimes there's a tendency in our communities, we think, well, I'm supposed to worship the advanced devotees. You know, a guru comes, or a sannyasi comes, or a Prabhupada disciple comes, or GBC disciple comes, and oh, wake up. I have to be very respectful until they leave the room. Now I can ignore everyone else. See? It's good we respected them, but it's neophyte consciousness if we don't respect others, right? Lord Chaitanya said, a Vaishnava, more tolerant than a tree, offers all respect to Prabhupada disciples, right? Is that what Lord Chaitanya said? Is that the verse? You read it this morning, right? We read the Shishastika. Lord Chaitanya says, one should offer all respect to sannyasis. Is that what Lord Chaitanya said? Some of you are in Samadhi. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Is that what Lord Chaitanya said? We think, oh, one should offer only respect to the temple president. Of course we should respect the temple president. Of course we should respect the sannyasis. Of course we should respect the gurus, the GBCs, the Prabhupada disciples, the senior ladies, the mother, father, everyone. But Lord Chaitanya said we should respect everyone. And he's there, and that's his order, and this is his house, his temple. So a very, very important message for us. And it's interesting too, because modern day scholars, they have something called sociology of religion. They study religious movements, they study the interplay between the people, and they've studied extensively, and they say actually there's a tendency, we think people join any religious community because of the philosophy. And of course we also think that because we have such a deep philosophy. But actually many people, they become interested in ISKCON, they don't really understand the philosophy. You know, sometimes people come and, you know, like on Janmashtami Day, and the altar is very nicely decorated with flowers. I heard one time some person came to the temple and said, oh, very beautiful, you worship flowers. They didn't see the deity, they just saw the flowers, you know? But they were attracted. So sometimes we don't understand, you know, we go on 5, 10, 20, 30 years, we're still learning about the philosophy. So why do people come? So these sociologists explain because they're attracted to the relationships with the community, because they feel these are nice people, because I feel welcome here, because they treated me with respect, because they treated me like, you know, a fellow important person. They didn't disrespect me. I remember hearing one story of a very, very wealthy Vaishnava. He explained in the beginning years he would go to different temples incognito, you know, without people knowing who he was. He wouldn't say, I'm so-and-so, big, rich industrialist, just to see how he was treated. Because he knew if they know I'm an industrialist, wealthy person, everyone will treat me with respect. I want to find that place where they treat me with respect without my money. Everyone respects my money. Everyone wants something from me. I want to find a place where they actually respect me as a person. So here, Maharaj Nimi, he's giving an example of that for us. Even though he was a big king, he worshipped them and he made them feel very welcome. So we should follow in his footsteps like that. And of course, we know Prabhupada made every endeavor to do that with guests that would come see him. Sometimes Prabhupada would spend so much time on relatively, materially speaking, insignificant people. But if they had a sincere question, if they were coming, he wanted to make sure they were nicely cared for. I asked Giriraj Maharaj, sometimes we hear Prabhupada would argue with people. Maharaj said sometimes Prabhupada would disagree with their philosophy, sometimes strongly, but he always treated them with respect and in a kind way. And even if there was one or two conversations out of 11 years that got a little heated, but even then Prabhupada said, make sure they take prasadam. Make sure they're properly treated, even if they were arguing strongly. So that's one point, Vaishnava etiquette, how we should apply it. Second point mentioned here is the importance of association and how important that is. We were hearing yesterday, those of you that were here, Bhanu Swami was describing, we're all marginal energy. Prabhupada sometimes says, Shastra says, just like if you go to the shore of the ocean, there's a part of it, when the tide comes in, it's covered with water. When the tide goes out, it's like ground. So we're like that. That's our nature as jiva. Sometimes we're in the spiritual energy, sometimes in the material energy, sometimes covered by the water or ignorance. So Maharaj was explaining, by our choices and our actions, our consciousness can become clear or covered. That's the free will we have to take the next step. So we come to Bhagavatam class, we hear 2 or 3 things that we're advised to do, and we make some kind of little sankalpa, some little vow. Yes, today I will make a point to respect others. I will try to associate properly with devotees and others. Krishna says, oh, you took the right step. Or we can say, oh, I don't want to do that. I like prasadam, I like darshan, but I don't want to respect anybody else. Okay. That's a little bit of a step backward. So we have our choices, and here Nimi gives the example, and it's described in the purport. We should always aspire to associate with devotees. Now the nature of the world is sometimes we associate with devotees, sometimes with non-devotees. As much as possible, when we associate with non-devotees, we should also try to lift them up. Even in ordinary things, you go to the store, someone's mean and grumpy. We should think, why are they mean and grumpy? You know that word grumpy? Unpleasant, unfriendly. Okay? Not that they're unfriendly, you become unfriendly. That means you're taking their association. They're unfriendly, you can say, you know, good morning, Hare Krishna, or whatever is proper. Sometimes in America, people may not like Hare Krishna. So I say, good morning, Chaitanya. They have no idea what I said. But still they heard. And they'll say, good morning. You see? Even Prabhupada, sometimes there's one story, Prabhupada was on a morning walk. They were walking down the street, and there was one car parked. Prabhupada walked over, knocked on the window. The man rolled down the window. Prabhupada said, good morning. And he continued walking. You know? Like described here, it's not when we become devotee, we become impersonal. We become more personal. And if we can interact with such a person, they get a positive impression of Vaishnavas. Or they're somehow attracted to come to the temple, or to chant Krishna's name, or to even think nice thoughts about a Vaishnava. They're making proper steps. So especially emphasized here, we need to associate with devotees, because by hearing, by serving, we develop those qualities. We become purified. But there's a quality to that association. Just like in the Gita, Lord Krishna himself says, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. But then he says, inquire from him submissively and render service. He doesn't just say approach him, that's it. He says approach him, inquire, and render service. So Prabhupada gives the example, he says sometimes like there's a mosquito, lands on the body of the king. He has very nice association, very close, very intimate. No one is so intimate as the mosquito. But what's the nature of that relationship? Not so good. Go away, get out of here. You're making trouble. So we shouldn't just want to have the association and make trouble with the spiritual master, the senior devotee. We should approach in a submissive mood and with the idea to serve. How can I serve? Just like Srila Prabhupada said, although I'm traveling all over the world, I never feel, or he said, I always feel the presence of my spiritual master. Many, many decades of time between them physically. And even physically, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was here, Prabhupada only met him a few times. But their association was so intimate. Why? Because he heard from him, he served him, and he made his mission, he made his guru's mission his own. So again, sometimes we see, maybe it doesn't happen here, I hope it doesn't happen here, but some places we see, say when a guru comes, there may be so many disciples. When the Guru comes, all the disciples are there. Mangala Arti, Guru Puja, Bhagavatam class, Sunday. Haribo, Haribo, Gurudev, Gurudev, Jai, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You see, let me do so. They run in to do seva. Then the Guru goes to the next city. They all go into some kind of mystic slumber. No darshan, no class, no kirtan, no seva, no donations. Until the Guru comes again. That's a mosquito. It's nice they come, but it's very neophyte. It's very neophyte. It's a good start. We don't say don't come. We say come, dance, chant, but hear what the Guru says. What does the Guru say? Sarva dharma parityagya mamekam sharanam vraja. Surrender to Krishna, serve the devotees, give your life. Help Prabhupada's mission. So if we're hearing, if we're associating, then we have to step up and become more responsible. Just like a small child in the family home. They just run and play. Isn't it? There's no sense of responsibility. They just, they're beautiful. Children are beautiful. And they only take. Isn't it? They take food, they take toys, they take your time. They're very cute, but they take. They get a little older, right? You see the parents, they start to train them. No. You put the plate up there. No. You know how to put on your socks. They get a little older. You know how to make your bed. You know when you should study. Then they get a little older. Okay, now you should contribute to the family. See? They make a little money. You should help. They become responsible as they mature. So in Krishna consciousness also, we shouldn't stay children. The children's daddy, daddy, mommy, give me, give me, give me. When one becomes more mature, we give back. So here that's being explained here. And let me ask, because it started late, I had a couple more points, but maybe we should stop and take questions? It's Sunday. Do you go? What's the rule? Should I stop and take questions, or? Smita Krishna's here. I can't hear what's the conclusion? 9:15. Oh, thank you. You see, you associate with devotees, you get special mercy. Okay. For you, maybe it's not mercy, you have to wait for prasadam longer, but for me, I can. So let's see, I'll just mention a couple other points then. Because it's a long purport. They made many, many points in the purport. Oh yeah, one other point. Sometimes the mood of the commentator changes. Also, even Prabhupada in his purport, sometimes the mood changes. This purport is very strong about personalism. Very strong. He uses some strong words. And we know also, Prabhupada, sometimes he would say, people in this age, they're like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Yeah? We read that. But sometimes you see when Prabhupada's speaking to sometimes big scholars, Prabhupada would say, yes, you are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. And they would laugh, yes, Prabhupada. You seen those videos? Because they understood the mood. Because they knew even though Prabhupada was speaking like this to kind of inject some Vaishnava philosophy, he did it with great love. And he did it with respect. So he would say, Professor, you're a big, big philosopher, but if you don't understand God as a person, according to the Shastra, you're a dog, hog, camel, or ass. And they would say, yes, Prabhupada, we are. In other words, Prabhupada sometimes was strong, but the personal relationship, the affection was there. He wasn't just chastising them to bring himself up. He was chastising them to get the message across. So we should be very, very careful. Prabhupada was free from false ego. His only sense of self is, I'm a devotee of Krishna, my spiritual master, and I want to help this person. We sometimes, it's a little mixed. I'm a servant of Krishna, I want to serve my guru, but I also like to push this person down and lift myself up. Isn't it? We all have that tendency. We're not self-realized yet. So we should be very careful when we interact with other people. Sometimes we want to like smash their philosophy. What we're really trying to do is lift up myself. Oh, just see how advanced I am. I have such a great philosophy. He has a much lesser philosophy. I'm better. You see? That's not a Vaishnava mood. Vaishnava mood, I'm not better than anyone. One time in a lecture, someone challenged Prabhupada. Are you God? Many times they challenged. One time, are you God? Prabhupada said, no, I'm servant of God. And then he said, no, servant of God is very exalted. I am the servant of God. Very important, you know. So here it's explaining to us we should be strong in our own conviction that the nature of the Supreme Truth is impersonal and personal. Maharaj is explaining that in more. Both are there. Achincha beta beta, both personal and impersonal. So sometimes people they'll say no, only the impersonal. God has no personality. But it's explained here that actually that's offensive. It's like someone says to any of us, you know, you have no face. You have no personality. You have no family. You have no place. You have no qualities. You think, well, you're making me into like a pond of water, like I'm nothing. You see? It's offensive, right? So in that sense, it's offensive. And also, we know sometimes people would say, you know, God has no qualities, God has no personality. But we can say, but you have a personality? Yes. You have a family? Yes. You can speak? Yeah. So you can do all these things, but God cannot? Is that your philosophy? You're so great you have all these things that God does not have? God must have everything we have and more, isn't it? The essential argument of the Vaishnava tradition. So yeah, God is impersonal, but He's also personal. So here, this emphasis is being given here. And it's also explained, and again, it's this mood of Vaishnava etiquette. Krishna says the same thing in the Gita. Sometimes, you know, we're more in the mood of defeating impersonalism. More important is we attract people to Krishna. So by defeating someone's philosophy, you bring them to Krishna. Okay, that's good. The Prabhupada said sometimes if you preach to, say, sometimes in different countries, different traditions, he says, you know, if you defeat, say, a Christian person, in my country many people are Christian, you defeat a Christian person, they become an atheist, that's disservice. So we may defeat an impersonalist or Mayavadi, but that's not so important. What's important is connecting with Krishna. And in the 12th chapter, Krishna explains this. Right, Arjuna asked, which are more perfect, those who are engaged in a devotional service or those who worship the impersonal Brahman? Now Krishna could have said, oh, the personalists are perfect and those others are nonsense. He could have put that in his book, right? It's his book. He could have said whatever he wants to. But what he said is, first he glorified the devotees, and then he said, but those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth. By controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So Krishna himself says, yeah, that's also good. It's not as good, but it's also good. So that's the other point they're making here, that, you know, as Vaishnavas, we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Person. He has his personality, but he also has an impersonal aspect. And some people are attracted to that. That's okay, no problem. Here, take some prasad. That's okay, join the kirtan. That's okay, come to the temple. Sometimes people that come think, oh, look at Krishna. I am Krishna. That's okay, just keep looking. In the West, there's so many stories. One story, one man said, Prabhupada, when I chant Hare Krishna, I see a big blue light. Prabhupada said, don't worry, keep chanting. So they're thinking this is some type of spiritual experience. Prabhupada said, no, just keep chanting. Something real will come. So they may have so many misconceptions. Some people think they're big philosophers. Some people, they're just sense enjoyers. Some people, they have no interest in spiritual life. I was at one temple recently. I met, there was one, I gave the lecture. There was one young woman, I spoke with her for a few minutes, and she was saying that she'd been coming to the temple for 1 year, and she loved kirtan. She was telling me, I love kirtan, I love kirtan. So I just made some little comment. I said, yeah, you know, Krishna's name is all attractive. She said, no, I don't believe in Krishna. I was shocked. She said, I don't believe in Krishna, but I love kirtan. I was like, fine, no problem. Sorry to disturb you. You just keep coming, you keep chanting, no problem. So some people come, they're immediately attracted to the deities. Some people, they come from a different background, no deities. I'm not comfortable with the deities. Some people, they only want prasadam. Some people, they only want kirtan. Maybe here's some people, they just come to get out of the rain. I don't know. Doesn't matter, just come. Rich, poor, small, tall, fat, educated, doesn't matter. Spirit, soul, eternally connected to Krishna. Our duty, we're the servants, help bring people to Krishna, help connect them to Krishna. And if we do that, Krishna says in the Gita, there's no one more dear to me than someone who does. You preach to the devotees, and they're all devotees, ultimately. You preach to devotees, you connect people, you bring them to Krishna. Krishna says there's no one more dear. So we have a great opportunity. All of you, you're affiliated with this temple. You bring your friends, you bring your family, you bring your boss, bring your employees, meet strange new people, strangers, reach out to them. That's wonderful service to Krishna. And make sure our temples, in the mood of Prabhupada, are welcoming places. And if we do that, that's the best service to the Lord, and we'll make very rapid advancement. So I'll stop there. There's just a few minutes left. Any questions or comments? There's a mic somewhere here. Mention that someone likes this aspect of Krishna, someone likes that aspect of Krishna. Chapatis are liked by North Indians? Yeah?
Tamil Nadu, they don't like.
They
That
don't
doesn't
like
mean
it.
chapati is not good.
Yes.
It's only the perception.
Yes. So
Like in European countries, they like ice creams and bread and butter.
yeah.
Here, rice.
Yes.
So,
Like you go to Germany, they have bread with breakfast, bread with lunch, bread with dinner. Yeah. You go to Italy, they have tomato sauce and olive oil with breakfast, tomato sauce and olive oil with lunch, tomato sauce and olive oil with dinner. And if you have a midnight snack, it's going to have tomato sauce and olive oil. But we say no problem. Even it's in the Shastra, you know, Nectar Devotion says you take those fruits that are in season. It also says you should take things that are dear to you, and you offer it to Krishna. So, you know, that's Krishna's so wonderful. If you offer a leaf, fruit, flour, water, pasta, rice, pakoras, chutney, dosa, or chapatis, whatever, He accepts. But devotion has to be there. I mean, I was actually sitting here thinking, I was trying to sing and my voice was not so good. And I was thinking, actually, as we get older, you lose those capacities. The body becomes weaker. You can't see as well. You can't sing as well. You can't hear as well. But our philosophy is so nice because Krishna says it doesn't matter. You just offer, you just give with devotion. So whatever we have, you give with devotion. It's true. A wealthy man, a rich man can come here and give the Lord 1 crore. That's very nice. A poor person can come and give 1 rupee. If it's done with devotion, that's more pleasing to Krishna. He has the universe. He has universes of universes, millions of universes. What does he need? What, you know, to us, 1 crore is a lot of money, but to him, it's nothing. Insignificant. 1,000,000 crores is nothing to him. But if there's bhakti there. One other question or comment?
One more thing, like when Sudama entered Dwaraka, the watchman stopped him because he's wearing a very beggar dress. And when Krishna saw him, he just put him on the throne and started worshipping. So the Lord doesn't see rich or poor. He rests because he was a Brahmana, his dear friend.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that when rich man comes, devotee's antenna becomes big. They started giving him. One rich man told me, "Do you do this every day to everyone?"
Oh, yeah, very good.
Like sometime in Sandhyarthi, we sing that Kibajaya, Narada, Shiva, they all come. Maybe I'm speculating, in that group, they may come in a disguised form. Maybe that.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. I mean, it's a fact. In our movement's old enough now, we've seen someone may come new today. Within a few years, they can be a senior devotee, giving nice classes, become the temple president, you know, GBC, it's sannyasi. It happens. Here, and this person comes and they just go right past me. So we don't know who's walking in the door. You know, like some of these children, we should think, I mean, they're going to be the big preachers, the devotees, the managers, the leaders in the future. So, and some new person comes, like it's interesting you said, sometimes our antenna comes up. Oh, there's a rich person, there's a famous person, there's a powerful person. Those are material antennas. Spiritual antenna, oh, there comes a devotee. He may have nice dress, rags, beautiful, unattractive, educated, not, it doesn't matter. Oh, there's a Vaishnava. Whoever comes in this door, describe, someone chants Krishna's name once, the Lord says, this is my devotee. He's chanted my name. Such a wonderful philosophy. Okay. So stop there.
Just beginning of marathon, book marathon.
Oh,
just
wonderful.
a few words to encourage everyone.
Okay. When do you begin?
Started already one week back, but actually it starts from today.
Okay. Well, we can go back. We look at the example of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He never left India, but he sent his books because he understood the power of the written word. And then we see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He published so many magazines, so many books. And our Prabhupada explained that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, sometimes a very simple brahmachari would go out in the public and sell one magazine. And as Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would glorify him. Oh, you've done such nice service. Because he knew this Prabhu didn't have so much capacity. But he saw this books, magazines, so important, so he appreciated that so much. And then again, you know the story, but it's good to remember when Prabhupada was with his Guru Maharaj at Radhakund. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur could see there was some difficulty coming in the relationships within his Gaudiya Math. So he told Prabhupada, if you ever get money, distribute books. So Prabhupada said, you know, books really, they're the foundation of our movement. I mean, every day, what do? We read the books. And because we read the books, we're enthused to do more service. And many, many devotees, they'll say, oh, we just met someone. Yeah, okay, I can tell a story. We were just talking with one doctor in Delhi, and we asked him, how did you become a devotee of Krishna? He's a big doctor, orthopedic surgeon, very highly respected. And he said, well, I was from a Hindu family, so we went to Tirupati one day. And we came out of the temple, had darshan, and there was a table, and there were some ISKCON people there. And they tried to sell me Bhagavad Gita. And I said, I don't need Bhagavad Gita, I'm Hindu. He said his wife told him, no, you must buy this book. He said, why? She said, because you don't have a Bhagavad Gita in your house. How can you be Hindu? You don't have a Bhagavad Gita. So he said he took the book home. He didn't really want it. He put it on the bookshelf and it sat there. And he said he even moved a couple times. He moved from this office to that office and there was that Bhagavad Gita with him. He moved it from here to here, never opened it up. Then he moved from here to here, never opened it up. He said years later, he opened the book and he started reading. And then he said his experience was all my questions were answered. He's a surgeon. He told us, he said one thing he was always thinking. He said sometimes you do the surgery very well and the patient does not recover. He says sometimes you average surgery, you know, it kind of a few complications, you did an okay job, not so good. The patient thrives, you know, does very well. He was one, he said he talked to his senior doctor. Why is this? If it's just up to us, we do excellent surgery, there should be excellent recovery. And if there's not such good surgery, there should be not such good recovery. So he was always thinking there must be some third factor. There's the patient, there's the doctor, but there's some other factor here. He said, so when he finally, after years, he read that Bhagavad Gita, that book, he became a devotee. He was convinced. So we don't know the potency of these books. I know where I was in America, another story, there was a devotee. There's thousands of these stories. Devotee, his brother-in-law was flying through an airport in America. And someone offered him a book. He didn't like the Hare Krishnas. So he took the book. He didn't even give a donation. He just took it and walked away. Almost like stole the book, you know, but like that. Took it home, put it on the bookshelf. A few years later, his brother-in-law found this exotic-looking book, read the book, said, oh, this is very interesting. He was in a very small town. He went to the library. He found 2 or 3 other books. One of this, one, you know, little books. He read those. So he read every book he could find, and then he left home and moved into the temple, became a brahmachari. From a stolen book. True story. I know this man. True story. So this is the potency. So sometimes we may think, okay, it's the marathon, you know, Rao Prabhu is going to distribute 100 books a day. Prabhuji is going to distribute 125. He's going to distribute 150. What can I do? Maybe 1 or 2. No. The one book I distribute could change someone's life. The one magazine could change someone's life. Not could, will. Will. So much potency is there. Prabhupada said like a time bomb, spiritual time bomb. You plant it, you never know where it's going to have an effect. So that's the power. That's the power. So we know Prabhupada particularly emphasized in many ways his book distribution. The more we learn about Prabhupada, he traveled around the world. He'd give morning darshan, morning walk, morning class, meet with people all day long, so much management, so much letter writing, so many headaches. Everyone else, all the other devotees, the 22-year-old young, strong men, women, totally exhausted from trying to keep up with Prabhupada all day. They fall into their beds, and then Prabhupada gets up and writes his books. All night long. Night after night after night after night after night. Why did he do that? How much importance he put into the book publishing and distributing. So we should remember, when we read these books, we should imagine Prabhupada sitting someplace. I don't know, did he come to Chennai? Did he visit? So, twice. Well, holy place. So maybe he's in Chennai, maybe he's in Tirupati, maybe he's in Mumbai, maybe he's in Moscow, maybe he's in Nigeria. don't know if he went to Nigeria, Kenya, maybe he's in Kenya, maybe he was in South Africa when he wrote this purport. Where was he? Of course, these are later, but in the ones that he did. Late at night, translating. So much importance. And we have the honor and the opportunity to give those books, to share those books with another soul who's wandering around in the material world with no idea what the goal of life is, and we're helping them connect with Krishna. Wow, what a wonderful opportunity. Special. Special. So some thoughts about the book marathon. Okay, we should take advantage. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhupada Book Distribution Marathon Ki.